For our panel discussion, we have respected senior members from both practice as well as industry who will share their views on the revised code. Our respected moderator for today is Mr. Sharik Ali Zaidi. Mr. Sharik is a fellow chartered accountant and partner at EY. Our panel members include Mr. Rana Muhammad Usman Khan, Mr. Rana Muhammad Usman Khan is a fellow chartered accountant, a council member of ICAP, and partner at Deloitte. He has a diversified professional experience of over 25 years. Then we have Mr. Harun Tabrez. He is a fellow chartered accountant, chairperson accounting and law, and faculty member of IBA. We also have Mr. Mahmood Abdul Razak. He is a fellow chartered accountant and is the founding and managing partner of Baker Tilly Mahmood Idris Qamar Chartered Accountants. Finally, we have Mr. Zaid Kalia, fellow chartered accountant and CFO at Shield Corporation Limited. I would now request our respected moderator and panel members to please come on stage for the panel discussion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to discuss it, the most important topic of the day. The word ethics comes from the Greek, etho, which means customs or habits. Ethics is not an art, rather it is an attitude. We can define ethics as a moral principles that govern a person's behavior. You can find ethics in societies and religions, and there are codes of ethics for professionals like doctors, engineers, nurses, teachers. But today our topic is ethics for chartered accountants. Today in our panel discussion, we will discuss and cover Code of Ethics, conceptual framework, its structure and presentation, inducement, contingent fee, cooling off period for audit partners, and few matters relating to no-clash. Rana Saab, let's start with you. From presentation given by Harun, it looks like there are certain changes which have taken place in this conceptual framework. Do you think that the framework has improved in the revised Code of Ethics, and if so, how?
I think आप मुझसे स्टार्ट करने की बजाय एंड कर लें तो ज़्यादा बेहतर होगा. वैसे तो हारून I think has mashallah done a good presentation. Or looking at the contents of the presentations, it's quite obvious that significant changes have been made in the restructured code. Definitely things improved by the time, and if you look at your earlier or the existing code of ethics, It is, I think, from 2014 to 2014.
Yeah.
And since then, the code has been revised twice or thrice, and unfortunately, we are so conscious that we need to deliberate and discuss this code every time, and we take so long that by the time we finish reviewing the proposed draft, for example, which is implemented around the globe, and we keep on deliberating, the next draft comes in. So then we abandon that, used to abandon it, okay, let's take up the new one, and that's how I think this is the third time that the Code of Ethics has been revised since the last we have adopted, and we are going through this processes. Including this, the NOCLAR, if you recall, we have been having sessions on that as well. It has also been recommended last year, and we are still working on that. We are still deliberating on that. One round of the sessions we have already organized in Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore, and still we are not in that position that we are going to adopt it. And that's why we thought that okay, NOCLAR, although we should have adopted it earlier, but considering the mismatch of NOCLAR and the existing code we have of 2014, then we thought okay, we'll go with the new one, and that's what we are now planning, and that has been exposed to the general membership, and we are hoping to have their comments as well. And this type of awareness sessions, definitely we are going to have two more, one in Lahore and one in Islamabad next week. And I think that the time has been given till end of this month. So considering the comments we receive from the general membership, and we gather from these sessions, and of course we have also deliberated this code in our committee at length as well, and we also have a number of comments to be made to the council. So with all these comments we propose, and we expect that we be able to send this to the council in their, I think June meeting we are planning, second week of June. And with that, of course, we are hoping to implement this by August, first of August this year. With this roadmap, I mean, you must have seen the presentation of Harun as well. Quite significant changes from the structural point of view, of course. But primarily, I think the significant thing is NOCLAR, I would say. Otherwise, it's all I mean, the changes or the structural reforms which have been there and which have evolved, let's say, over the period of last 4 or 5 years, considering all the requirements of the stakeholders, let's say the rotation thing, the disclosure of interest. So, from my perspective, principally there's no change. There's no change, but structurally, of course, defining few things more, elaborating, let's say, on certain areas, having more requirements from independence perspective. So this all has come. But unfortunately, to me, when we were reviewing this Restructured Code of Ethics in our committee, we came across with certain things which were there in 2014, and still having not changed our laws and regulations, means we are still keeping that. For example, the significant thing is the advertisement and publicity. The world has opened up. I mean, they have given you a lot of options to go for advertisement and publicity. Of course, within a framework, a respectable and graceful framework for professionals. But when we look at our own requirements of the ordinance, we can't go beyond those limits which have been prescribed in, for example, the law we have at the moment. So again, having this revised, restructured framework in place with those limitations, I don't know what type of hybrid model we are going to have at the end of the day. But again, a lot of things have been changed, suggested, improved. But keeping in view whatever is there in the law, and we can't, let's say, go beyond those requirements. So we are trying to make a good mix. So at least whatever has been changed globally, we should be able to implement, but of course within the limits we have within our legal framework. But moving with the discussions, we can
thank you.
address these few more things.
Regarding structural changes,
Yeah.
Mahmood, I would like you to just make some comments regarding the structural changes and how it will impact us.
Structurally, I believe it's more comprehensive, it's user-friendly now in a way that it also identifies the threats and also guides and you know takes a chartered accountant along with a set of procedures that he is expected to apply while facing those threats or assessing those risk areas. Another interesting part is that it keeps reminding about the fundamental principle at every point. And on a lighter side, I really don't understand why there is a need to keep the chartered accounting reminding all the time about the fundamental principle. Maybe it's just my guess or assessment of the circumstances. One fact that Rana Sahab just mentioned that by the time we end up having a detailed, thorough discussion on any framework or any restructure code, we tend to see a newer one coming up for review. It means there is tremendous pressure internationally as far as ethics are concerned. There is something wrong going on. And my assessment is that we have just one way or the other accepted the approach of ticking the box. Ethics, as Shalik Saab you said, it's a Greek word coming from a Greek word ethos. It has to be in our genes. Yeah. I mean, you have to be sure what is right and what is wrong path to choose. Maybe, maybe not in all the cases. Maybe we are just complacent with the approach of ticking the box as far as ethics are concerned and work things around it. True. So the fundamental idea is to keep the chartered accountant reminded at all the times about that fundamental principle that has to be adhered to while facing any particular situation. Like in the cases, I mean, as we go through the code, you will see there are a lot of different amendments where even incentives and inducements have been discussed in detail. I think the previous code was missing on those particular areas. So from that point of view and from structure point of view, yes, indeed, it's a better version as compared to the previous one. But again, for all the chartered accountants in practice or in business, I'm sure they have to get used to it by reading it again and again and coming out with with any specific areas that might be of their own particular interest, especially those. I would recommend that those which are marked as R or shall have to be read and considered by every accountant in every field of life, be in a profession or be in a business, and that's something that will be questioned at any point in time when a compliance with the code of ethics is considered. So these are the areas that really need serious attention on the part of each and every chartered accountant.
Thank you, ma'am. Zed, we all know that there are certain times, situations where chartered accountants in a business find themselves in a fix. On one hand, they want to remain compliant with the code, but at the same time, they don't want to lose their jobs in positions. So, what are your comments about it?
So, first of all, my question to the audience is, have you ever felt pressure in your life? With a raise of hands. Have you ever felt pressure on you? Okay, only few people felt pressure. So I think others are exerting pressures on others.
Okay.
So in my life, I have felt both things. Since childhood, pressure is exerted. And in this quote, I am taking this as an example. If someone is exerting pressure on chartered accountant in business, which results in breach of fundamental principles defined in code of ethics, which are objectivity, integrity, professional care, professional behavior, then it comes into the code. There are three important words defined in the code. First is identify, second is evaluate, and third one is address the issue. So if first thing first, you need to identify the situation. Pressure can be exerted from anyone within the organization or a person outside the organization. He or she may be your boss. He or she may be a vendor or a lender. So first identify who is exerting the pressure. For example, there's a pressure not to disclose internal audit report, which has significant adverse comments and which can harm the company or the person. This is the situation, and this is the first step to identify the circumstances, identify the situation. Then second thing is evaluation. Who is the individual? At what level he is exerting the pressure, and what is the nature of that pressure? Second, what are the guidelines available in current laws, professional standards to this situation? Third thing is what is the tone at the top in the company about ethics? Is it ethical company which value ethics or not? Fourth, is there any provision about whistleblowing program in HR policies? Once you evaluate the whole situation, then the third step is addressing the issue. It is if you face this situation, आंखों में आंखें डालकर बात करें आप, ठीक है? If you have a fear, the situation won't change. So it's better. First step, the person who is exerting pressure on you, discuss with them. Sometimes ये होता है कि you feel that someone is pressurizing you. In actually, there is some misunderstanding. So first step to discuss with that person. Tell him your situation about the code and about the situation and what are the repercussions, and you may succeed in addressing the situation. Second, if the person is not your boss, you are lucky. Half of the problems are solved. You can consult your boss and he can help you out. Third option is you may escalate the situation to those charged with the governance, audit committee, or board of directors, or you can also escalate internal or external auditors.